Hey, it's SaintMarcuz once again with another deck profile video for you today, and I've got the awesome Bobby Kenny here who hit top 16 in
Hello.
the YCS, the remote YCS this past weekend with what deck?
So I was playing a spicy 60 card Centurion list featuring some extenders not everyone's playing in here. Uh,
And
if
tell me,
you,
go ahead.
oh yeah, so it's like playing with Millenniums and the Fiendsmith cards lets you. Goal is to just be able to go over the top of what your opponent's disruptions are in a way that the normal Centurion deck just can't.
Okay. And how long you been on this deck?
So Centurions in general, I honestly kind of bashed the deck for a while when it was first revealed, and like the first, what it's been out for like over a year at this point, and it wasn't until it was honestly White Forest when that deck came out. I really wanted to make White Forest work. I started by throwing together like a White Forest Centurion deck. I was like, maybe the Fiendsmith engine can work in this to just give it like another angle of attack. And then as I was playing the deck more and more, I was just like, man, these White Forest cards are the worst part of the deck. And so I ended up taking I wasn't entirely convinced in the like Fiendsmith Centurion for like the WCQ season, but I ended up like kind of just last minute audibling to it, and it was okay, but it wasn't phenomenal. Like to do combo off of Fiendsmith cards, you had to like Beatrice for um the stupid Crystal Beast trap card to get to your field spell, and like it was fine, but it definitely not now with what the tools we have available, you can Fiendsmith into full Centurion combo like in engine. You like two bodies or engraver gets you into Primera Primus and then just does everything from there.
Yeah, Premier Primus is a hell of a card, that's for dang sure. Let's see what you got on the deck now. Let's see what ratios you
All
got
right,
going on, and feel free to
so
explain why you chose the ratios that you did.
yeah, so it's a 60 card pile. So that means like again, like when you're building 60 card decks, it's all about making sure your ratios work out. For your main starters, we have the standard, three Primera, three Trudea, three stand up, the terraforming, and three oath. So it's like nothing special here. Uh, but obviously 13 starters in a 60 card deck isn't going to cut it. So we're also playing three bonfire and um so like this gets you to Trudea and like just three more copies there. So these are all of your standard Centurion stuff. They do the same thing every Centurion deck. You like if you know Centurion, the same stuff as always. Nothing crazy there. But then your additional starters here. So we have a Millennium engine, three Centurion. This one is also just a Prime extender, level 8 non-tuner. I'm sure you guys have seen plenty of Centurion lists already playing this just on its own as a free body that can make your 12s. But since we're playing the Fiendsmith engine and we just want to get two bodies onto the field, we're also playing the Golem that guards the Millennium Treasures and the Wedju Temple. These are worse starters, but they are still one card starters because they get you to two bodies into Fiendsmith line. Since you have to go through the Wedgie Temple for this one, though, you have to have another monster in hand in order to do that. But that can be like any hand trap or any such. So, like, there's plenty of ways to do that. Also neat, if you open these with too many Centurion cards in hand, you can place Centurions with this and then like send them away to Gargoyle. They're treated as spell cards, so you won't be able to summon them off their own effects, but it does just give you a thing on the field that you can send away for free, which is nice. And then you have the Fiendsmith package, three engraver. You want to see engraver. If you don't see engraver, obviously two bodies still does everything, but hard drawing this card gets you so far. And then playing the one Lacrima and the Lurie with the tracks. Uh, so the Lacrima, her graveyard effect comes up a ton in this deck because if you are ever using your Fiendsmith stuff to start your combo, you end up with extra Fiends in your graveyard. So you can use her graveyard effects on the opponent's turn to shuffle her back into the deck and summon a Fiendsmith Link monster. That can either be the Requiem or the Link 3, which I'll get to some of those plays in a bit. Um, So those are all your starters. It's 27 cards that function as 1-card starters, which like if you look at a standard 40 card list that has like 13 starters, this is more along the lines of having like 18 starters. I think the math is you're like 96% to open a 1-card starter play and you're opening 5. And like all the Fiendsmith and Millennium cards are extenders on top of the half of the Centurion starters are also extenders, so it's very easy to just play past multiple hand traps, which is nice. So for the engine requirement stuff, as expected, there's a little bit more of that than in a standard line. So well, obviously you have your Atri and Gargoyle, like the two best ones to play as your additional ones. Gargoyle's an extender, Atri draws a card, is your second tuner. Like, you guys all know how that works. But then I have an honorary third Centurion engine requirement in Agnimal Candle. So this can, when you draw this card, you're very sad, but it does work as a tuner, and it makes it so your bonfires can double as a tuner extender. Yeah, so if you don't know what this does, it says if it's added, it's a pyro that if it's added to your hand except by drawing, you can special summon it like a poplar, and up to 3 times per turn, once per chain, if a monster goes to your graveyard, you can increase or decrease its level. I will say one of the games I lost over the weekend was I didn't think far enough in advance to bonfire this out before I committed to another play that got stopped. And if I had done that, I could have modulated this to 6 to pair it with a Bestial to go Oxala and still have comboed anyway. So it's like the level modulation on this does come up sometimes. And then so then your spell trap engine requirements, you have the standard wake up for Phalanx. Like, these cards are just staples at this point. They get your extra. This gets you a 1-card level 12 synchro once it like off the rest of your play with the Phalanx. I am on the bonds. I know like people are like 50-50 on this card. I found that it is worth including when you hard draw it. It allows you to, in a lot of plays, safely link away one of your monsters and then place it with bonds to be able to do your Fiendsmith line on top of your Centurion line. And it also just makes it so when you do draw these cards, it's a little bit less bad. Like, it's definitely worth the inclusion because of the fact that hard drawing it is just another extender, but it is it is a card that doesn't do anything by itself, so I can understand not playing it. Last one, I'm on 1 copy of Centurion True Awakening. So another neat thing with bonds is it makes your True Awakening a lot more reliably live. When, like, if you see bonds, you can either do your Fiendsmith line, or you can make sure True Awakening is live and search this out, or sometimes both. True Awakening also is a lot more reliable when you're playing both the Fiendsmiths and the Millenniums. The Millennium cards let you get, they place themselves as spells in the back row, so you can, like, sometimes if I hard draw, I've had games that I've hard drawn Awakening, or I've had a play that's like, oh, I can just search the Awakening because I have the rest of the pieces I need, and I would deliberately just wedge you tempo a dead monster out of my hand just to send it to True Awakening. And there's some of your lines when you get to make a Desiree, you get to end with Desiree with multiple equips on it, or you can Lacrima out the Link 3 Fiendsmith to get a monster with an equip on it, and the equips can be sent with this as well. So it's just, and being a counter trap makes it just very hard to play around that compared to Blazar. Like, if I've had plenty of games where it's like I have the option of going Blazar, or I can get a live True Awakening with like another setup, with like another smaller setup next to it, and I'll do that over the Blazar a lot. So yeah, that's card. This card's wonderful. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I think it's worth playing. Obviously, you side it out when you go second, but
it says no the droplet. What could you not want?
That is true. That is true. So then I'm playing Vision Resonator with Crimson Gaia. So this, if it goes to graveyard, searches this. This can add this from deck or grave to hand. Notably, Vision Resonator is a fiend. That comes up for your Fiendsmith into Centurion line. This also says if there's a level 5 or higher dark monster on the field, you can special summon it from your hand for free. So hard drawing Vision Resonator is honestly really good a lot of the time. It can just be a free discard to to your stand up, and then add the Crimson Gaia, add this back, special summon it once you have Oxala or like a level 8 Gargoyle or something in play, and then you get to either link it off to do a Fiendsmith line at the end or use it as a synchro material. Also, notably, you can summon this if your opponent has a dark monster on the field. It comes up very rarely. Didn't happen during the YCS, but I have had games where it's like my Fiendsmith line gets Bestialed, and then because they have a Bestial, I get to special summon a Vision Resonator. So that's neat. And then the last like engine requirement soft brick card is Synchro Rumble. Honestly, this is probably the 60th card in the deck. It's like when everything goes perfectly, this card adds an extra synchro onto your end boards a lot of the time. But when your things like don't go smoothly and you have to go into your Fiendsmith lines, like you often just end up with this. Either you have like if you draw this and you're like, I need to do a Fiendsmith line, it locks you out of that. Like the card's probably gonna end up getting cut in the end, but it honestly did have a couple games that got really grindy where just this was able to be the difference maker in the end. Like, is it worth it? I'm honestly not sure at this point. This is the most likely card to get swapped for something else. So for the non-engine, playing the 1/1/1 Bestial line, Baldrake was the other card that felt very underwhelming during the tournament. Like halfway through the tournament, I kind of changed up my siding patterns. So I was usually siding out one Centurion when I was siding in more non-engine cards, and I ended up just after like halfway through the tournament, I swapped that to siding out the Baldrake unless it was a matchup where the Bestials were insanely good. So that's another card that could possibly be swapped out. Magnuma is just free value. Like it's just multiple bodies on its own going second, and that on its own is enough to justify it. And the Druis Worm, like if you've played Centurion, you know how powerful summoning a Druis Worm and then immediately going into Chaos Angel on your opponent's turn is. It's just like that wins games by itself. So those two are definitely staying. And then the rest of the hand traps, 3 Ash, 3 Ogre, 3 Veiler, 3 Imperm, and then 2 Mourner. These were Nibiru's for the longest time. Right before the tournament, I decided, I was like, night before, when I was getting the list submitted, I was just like, Nibiru has felt very lackluster in this format specifically, so I decided to swap them for Mourners. Looking back, I honestly don't regret it. This Mourner overperformed, and a lot of the games that I had Mourner, Nibiru would have been medium at best. So, but obviously it's format dependent. Like fast forward a few weeks, probably going to be playing Nibiru again because it's really good against like Ryzeal and stuff, which is already I haven't gotten to play much of that matchup, but on paper it seems very terrifying for this deck. So, and then also playing 3 of each Mulch Army in the main deck. Another thing that's just a lot of people swear by no Mulch Armies in Centurion, and for standard builds, I honestly agree with that. Like, the thought is your deck does not play well into boards whatsoever, so why play the cards that force your opponent to build part of their board? You just want to maximize your density of hand traps that just stop them from building in the first place. But when you're playing the Millennium cards and the Fiendsmith cards on top of all the Centurion engine, like, it is very, very easy to break boards. Like, a Fiendsmith line on its own, like, just Requiem into Lacrima is already an Engraver Send and a Chaos Angel Banish, so they're forced to stop that, and it's just like a lot of the time you can, using the Millennium and Fiendsmith stuff, you can force most of their relevant interaction from what's usually a half board, especially if they're like they're either building a half board to not play into this, or they play into it and you have enough hand traps to soften it up so that all of your extenders that you have will just break down the board. So yeah, these cards were great. I wouldn't cut those. Also, minorly relevant, being level 4. Sometimes you have weird hands where it's like you stand up for a Primera, the Primera gets Veilered, you normal a Mulch Army, you go from there. So that's kind of neat. So yeah, that's the main deck, 60 cards. For the extra, so Extra Deck's super tight because it's obviously you have the Fiendsmith engine. Fiendsmiths just eat your Extra Deck. So for the Synchros, it's just one of the 3 Centurions. Like standard stuff here. I know a lot of lists will double up on Primera Primus or especially Legatia. I've found that making the Legatia turn 1 is almost always incorrect, especially when the bodies that can make the Legatia are often able to instead do a Fiendsmith line and end on a Desiree. So, like, I think I wanted the second Legatia once, and it was in a position where I missequenced my searches so that I had to synchro into a Legatia before making a Crimson Dragon, just because I was locked by Emblem Oath. So it's like, I wouldn't have made it in that position if I didn't have to, and that was the only time that I remotely wanted the second one. So, playing the Crimson Dragon, obviously, and then double Blazar. This comes up a lot less in this build than in most builds. I would say about half of my matches, I didn't actually summon this card at all. More reason for cutting the Synchro Rumble is that, like, a lot of the time when you're playing through interaction, you just end up doing a Fiendsmith line, and you end up in a position where it's like you're choosing on your opponent's turn between doing the Crimson Dragon or doing like a Chaos Angel after your board is like you're passing on like Oxala and Fiendsmith cards or something. Or yeah, and also like going second, you're actually killing your opponents on your turn 1's going second a lot more with the Fiendsmith cards than Centurion normally would. So you have fewer of the games where it's like, okay, I crack your board, I set up a Blazar, and so it's just going second. I almost never summon this. Obviously, you don't cut this card, it's a broken card, and like the heart and soul of the Centurion deck as a whole. But I will say, like, you could summon this and it'll get nibbed and you can still win. Like, it's not something that's a game ender. Last synchro on the deck is the Chaos Angel. I kind of wish that I had a generic level 10, but I don't think there's a good enough one to play. It's sometimes awkward when you have the Golem, because it's an Earth level 6, and there's just nothing good to do with it outside of making a Link play. And if you've already done your Link line and you have that, then it's like medium, but like that's the only thing that I really wish I had in this extra deck. Fiendsmith line, Moon, Requiem, Sequence. Your sequence targets are the Desiree, obviously, but also Aerial Eater. So the Aerial Eater is what you're using to send your Vision Resonator to get to tuner access off of this. Then the card I feel everyone's sleeping on is this Fiendsmith Agnum Day. So this one, if you haven't read this one, it's as a quick effect on either player's turn, you can target a non-Link Light Fiend in your graveyard, special summon and equip it with this. And while this is equipped to it, the monster gains 600 attack times the total Link rating that's equipped to it, and it does piercing. So the big things of this is, so in your main combos, like, you need to have a way to get your Vision Resonator onto the field. So obviously if you haven't normal summon, you can normal summon it and synchro with the Aerial Leader, or if there's another big level 6 on the field, you can do that. Or a big dark monster rather, you can do that. But a lot of the time you will be linking these two into this, using this to bring back a normal Fiendsmith monster from your graveyard and equipping, so that you can then turn both of those into Necroquip Princess. And this card's sole purpose is to be a level 6 dark that you can then special summon your Vision Resonator. If your hand allows it, you can obviously make this before doing the rest of your combo, like sandbag your Fiendsmith stuff for later, and then just do your normal combo. And if you get hand trapped, you get to draw a card, or if you have a monster to pitch to stand up, you get to draw a card. That's great. And it can allow you to make a light dark Chaos Angel when you would normally only be able to make a mono light Chaos Angel off Fiendsmith cards. But those are like edge cases. It's like 90% of the use for this is just so that you can special summon Vision Resonator. And then there's one flex spot in the extra deck, which, as I was saying, like, I wish this was a generic level 10, but I just don't think any of the generic 10s are strong enough to justify. So we're playing SP. I summoned her exactly once during the tournament. It was in a Centurion mirror match in top 32, where it was just like, okay, well, if I summon this to force their phalanx, then I probably have a safe line to victory, which it did do, but it was like literally a coin flip on, okay, which of their two sets is the phalanx, and I got it right. That was the only time I summoned it, not counting. I had the feature match in top 16. I threw away game 3. I made this just as, well, this is the legal play I can do to force your princess and then concede in game 3. I don't count that though. I wouldn't have made that under like a normal play sequence there. Like maybe if I made the correct line to actually get to do a combo, this came down and banished princess at the end. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah. Side deck. Oh, side deck's still in my box. Side deck. 3 droll. Honestly, this could move to the main deck. I admittedly have not played enough this format before this tournament to be like, oh, is this card worth main decking or not? I'm still not certain. I really like this main deck in decks that lose to mulch armies, but when you get mulch armied, if you aren't forced to do your Fiendsmith line, you can still just do your normal Centurion stuff to get like 1 draw. So I don't know if it's worth main decking, but it was a good card. Came in a lot. Then for the Azumina decks, I have Retaliating Sea, also pretty good against Memento for what it's worth. Didn't play against any Memento, but it's good against them too. Just when they play their important spell card, turn off their graveyard, make life difficult. The catch-all for Floodgate stuff and the mirror match and a few other things, just Cosmic Cyclone. Nothing too exciting there. There's probably a card that's objectively better than these, but
no, I think Cyclone's
like,
great.
I think it's a good card.
Yeah, I think that's
and
great.
then the going first plan, I side out the 6 mulch armies. I bring in 2 triple tactics talent, 1 called by the grave, and 3 deck lockdowns. 3 wonderful beat up.
Card. Let's go.
Oh yeah. This card's just broken, more broken than ever in this deck because they just can't destroy it. You're always setting this up next to at least 1 negate, sometimes 2, and it's just they can't play. It's just a concede. I think there were like 3 times today where I opened this going first. They had like 3 hand traps and stopped every single line I did, and then I'd just play this and pass, and then they'd draw and pass back, and then I'd get to just win from there. So yeah, that was fine. Don't think I would have, in hindsight, I don't think there's anything I would change about the side, outside of like maybe if Droll ends up in the main deck, then something else goes in the slot. Not even certain what that would be.
All right, so
yeah.
Appreciate you showing the deck off here, but as part of all of my deck profile videos, do you mind doing a combo for us?
Yeah.
Can you do a Millennium starter combo for the
yeah,
deck?
that sounds good to me.
Yeah.
So
it's probably what, a 1.5 card combo, Golem or Field Spell. So like 1 card plus a monster.
Yeah, like 1 card plus a monster, or if you open, like I can do it with this, it's just a 1 card combo.
Yeah.
So
yeah, sure, go ahead. Do Ascension, or go ahead.
So you start with your Ascension, you place it, you push forward, you get your monster, your Golem, place your Golem, push it forward, get your Field Spell. This is nice because it's just a free discard at this point. You get to link these off into your Moon into your Requiem into your Lacrima. So then your Lacrima uses her effects, and you get to send your Engraver, and then you get to use your Engraver, returning your Moon to summon itself, and link those off into your sequence. So then you have your sequence, shuffle away the Engraver and the Requiem, leaving the Lacrima in graveyard. She just has the most value over the long game. To get you... getting a step ahead of myself. Summon your Aerial Leader, and then your Aerial Leader gets to send your Vision Resonator. So you send the Vision Resonator triggers, and you add Crimson Gaia to your hand. You activate the Crimson Gaia, and then you get to use that to add the Vision Resonator back to your hand. Now, if you're leading on the Millenniums, you have the option of normal summoning this if you want to. That allows you to save your sequence to make make Agnum Day later. But sometimes you'll be in this position and where you 2-body combo and you already have normal summon. So let's say you summon your Primera, it gets negated, and your only extender is like Bonfire for Agnimal Candle or something like that. Or like a Bestial banishing their Veiler. So when you do that and you've already have your normal summon, you don't have the option of normaling this. So you have to then go into your Agnum Day. You'll have your Agnum Day activate, targeting the Lacrima to summon her and equip to it. And then now you have your Fiend with an equip card and another Fiend monster card to go into your Necroquip. And now that there's a level 5 or higher dark, you can special summon your Vision Resonator. And you can synchro those into your Primera Primus. And then how exactly you go here depends on what you started with. But obviously, if you have your if you have your normal summon and everything available to you, you get to go for Oath. You get to Oath for your stand-up. You get to stand up, pitch the free Wedgie Temple to get you to your Trudea or Primera. Like probably just Primera here. It depends on if you want to normal the Atri to draw, or if you'd rather normal the Trudea.
I think if you go the Trudea here, you get Wake Up.
Yeah, you end up getting. Usually I grab the Wake Up anyway, but so you can go Primera for Trudea and place that to get your Gargoyle in rotation. It's really just depends on if you want to normal the Atri to get the Atri draw, or if you'd rather have the Gargoyle in rotation. It's kind of either or, depending on just whichever you prefer. But yeah, then you get to synchro into your Oxala, add this back, get your Wake Up. Actually, this line is slightly different than if you open the Fiendsmiths. If you open Engraver, one thing that you can do that's neat here is you'll still have an Engraver in your graveyard, you can have either Engraver or Requiem still in your graveyard, and you have the option to Lacrima for either the Agnum Day to bring back the Engraver to make a 10 on your opponent's turn, or you can go into the Requiem back for her, and then you can make a 12 with the Primus on board. But yeah, there's a handful of ways you can do this. But so yeah, then let's just say you grab your Wake Up, you play your Wake Up for a 4, and then you get to go into your go into your Crimson Dragon line. You can search out your Synchro Rumble and tag out into this. And yeah, if you want, you can use sometimes if I'm confident they don't have Nibiru here, I'll often play the Synchro Rumble, even if I'm not intending on synchroing with the thing I bring back. Obviously, in this scenario, I don't have a tuner to bring back. If I went for Atri and didn't draw, I could bring it back. I could bring back the Atri and then draw later. So, there's a few different sequences depending on what cards you want to have set up. But, you can just Synchro Rumble back the Primus, and then when you go to tag this out, you don't get hit by a Ghost Ogre, because if the Ghost Ogre, you can banish this to protect it. You end up on the... Yeah, so it's a lot of the same stuff, but then you end up with stuff in your follow-up in your graveyard. So it's even on this line, you have the ability to, let's say they do have the absolute not draw, they force your Crimson, they wipe the rest of your board, you don't have any follow-up, well, obviously you have follow-up here, but it's even if they wipe absolutely everything, you get to start your next turn by going Like on their end phase, you can Lacrima back something and then go into Requiem to get your whole Fiendsmith engine back online. And then usually if they do manage to get to a point like that, you're both on very few resources. They're obviously still fighting through a Cosmic Blazar. And you end up just taking over with like Cosmic Blazar Desiree.
All right, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I appreciate it, man. Appreciate
Yeah, like
you doing this. Do you have any shout outs you want to right here and now?
Not too much. Just want to shout out like just the guys that let me throw my stupid ideas at them without judging me. So like Joe Winkler, Josh Bavarnik, Ediception, you three are like probably the biggest ones. So thank you guys for humoring my nonsense.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, you guys heard it here. Here's the wonderful deck profile, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. And thank you again, Bobby.
Yep, thank you.